Hello plant people, my name is Nora, also called the Leca Queen on Instagram. Thank you for joining me on my channel where I discuss all things plants from semi-hydroponics through to moss poles. In my last video I was walking you through how to make a moss pole. We created a moss pole that has a plastic sheet backing and has got sphagnum moss in it. So today I am going to show you how I attach a plant to this pole and pot that in Leca. So let's go. What are we going to need? We're obviously going to need a moss pole. Here's one we made earlier. And if you have not seen the video on how to make this, please jump to my earlier video to take a look. We are obviously going to need a plant. And I have here today a very special guest. I have my Vero. I have been wanting to have this plant for such a long time. I finally have her and she's got a leaf coming, so I'm pretty excited about that, and I am going to put her up in Leca and attach her to a moss pole so she can start doing her thing as soon as possible. She looks really good. She's got excellent roots there, and I'm really hoping that she's going to take to Leca like a duck to water. And we're also obviously going to need some Leca. I've got some Italian Leca here. This has been washed and has been soaking in Growth Technology Clonex Clone Solution, or GTCCS, for more than 24 hours. We are also going to need a grower's pot. I like to use clear pots, you will know that by now. And my pot also has additional ventilation put through. I'll show you how to do that another time. We're also going to need a metal rod. And this just helps stabilize the pole, and then your plant is nice and secure in that. So we are also, let me not forget, going to need some cable ties to attach the rod to the moss pole. We are going to need some scissors to nip off the redundant bits of the cable ties, and we're also going to need a plant tie. So this is just a Velcro plant tie. I'm going to cut off what I need to attach my plant, and I will attach the plant to that. So let's get started. So I think the first thing I'm going to want to do is find out how much of that I'm going to need. So I'm just going to wrap this around my moss pole, and just to sort of, that overlaps. You just want it to overlap, and that's all you need. That'll keep the plant secure, and that's it. So I need that much, so I'll keep that there. The other thing I need to do is actually attach this to my moss pole. But before I do that, as you would have known, we have put moss into that. I do not want this moss touching the Leca, or I don't want it getting into the solution. So what I will do is I will fold over this leftover piece of mesh and put a cable tie through so that stays, and that just acts as a little barrier and keeps my moss away from my Leca and keeps it away from the nutrient solution, which obviously is nowhere near the top, but just keeps everything nice and separate. So I will tie that there. So that is now like that, and that moss isn't going anywhere. What I will also do is probably cut off a bit of that, or I could just, you could just fold it, or you could cut it. You could do one of those things. So I'll just fold this over itself, because you want to see at what point your pole touches the top of the pot. So that is too much. In fact, what I will do is I'll just actually cut off quite a fair bit of that. And like I said, it's very soft and easy to cut. And then that's just done. So I now fold this over that way, and you know, that kind of works. So I fold that over that way. I will now get my pole and I will attach it to the back of that. But before I do that, I need to figure out where I'm going to attach this pole. So when I put the pole in the pot, I make a note to find where the bottom of the pole is, because I don't want the pole sitting too much in the pot. I want it right at the top, so I know I need to attach it there. So you could get a little marker or something to help you, but it's not really necessary. It doesn't have to be absolutely exact. As long as you've got that in there, that's really all you want. It can be a bit fiddly to get in, and you're making that pretty tight. So I've now attached the pole to that, and that is where my moss pole sits, over there. I now attach the pole to the top. So again, I get my cable tie. The top one's a bit easier to do than the bottom one. Got my cable tie. And that goes through there. So now that's what I've got. I've got my moss pole. I've got my pole on the outside of that. We don't want to put this metal board on the inside of the pole, because the roots will start to grow through the moss. And when they start to grow through the moss and they start attaching to the pole, it's very difficult to separate. So in this case, the roots will be nicely tucked in behind the sheet. And all we need to do when we need to propagate or whatever it is you want to do, you just take the pole off and that's it. Bob's your uncle. So that is perfect. And what we're now going to do is attach our plant to the pole before we put it in the pot. I just find it easier to do it that way, because you've got control of where the roots are going, the positioning of the plant, and you can do all that before you start fiddling with where the leca is going. It's probably easier to do in soil if it's easier to put that in and then you can attach the plant. But using leca, I find it easier to attach the plant first before I put it in the pot. So, but before I do that, I will need to cut off the redundant bits of the cable tie, because we really just want it to look nice and neat. Making sure that's tight. We want it to be nice and neat. So that goes off, and that's what that looks like. I've got my pole, I've got my plant. So I know I want it to sit here. Everything beyond this level is going to be inside the pot and is going to be covered by the leca. So I position my plant like so, you know how I want it to go. I get my tie. So the soft portion of it is what's going to go against the plant, not the rough bit, because the rough bit's what's going to actually work and hold the plant in place. So I put that around. This plant's a bit wonky, to be honest with you. Don't quite like the shape, but anyway, whatever. Put that there. I put that there. So that plant is now attached to the pole, like so. That is going in the leca. The plant is attached. I will now get my pot. Put some leca in my pot. Remember, we're putting about a third leca that way. And we get our pole. And that is going, the roots are going in there. And that's it. So I then fill this up. What's really important is that you've got this dead space here. you've got that bit there that doesn't have any leca. So you need to make sure, it's a bit easier for me to use my hands, that you fill all that space up. So just squishing what needs to be squished. Make sure the leca goes where it needs to go. And you can just sort of, so I don't quite like how that's sitting, it's a bit, yeah, okay, that's straight. You can adjust it. And voila! So I now have this plant attached to a moss pole living in leca. There we go. The pot is clear, you can see the roots, the plant is secure, that's not going anywhere, and that's the back. So once the plant starts to take off and establish and gets bigger, you will see roots growing into the moss, and you can actually see the roots from back. And that's why I love this clear sheeting, and I love the clear pots, because you can see what's happening with the plant. So what I might do is actually put another tie just to put that leaf up a little bit. There we are. That is absolutely magnificent. I've now got my Veru living in leca attached to a moss pole, and all I need to do is watch her grow, grow and grow. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned.